Welcome, everybody. We are here for another one of your questions about work. And this is a special one because I feel like this is one of these questions that many of us worry about a ton. And just as a reminder, I'm Roy, and I'll just come on screen right now. Just give me a second. And I am a startup investor in the future of work. And I'm here with Kevin, who is a New York Times journalist and the author of a recent book that is on this subject. In fact, I won't even say its name. I'll let you say its name because it's so on subject for this subject as we were asking about it. Yes, right there in the background, if you can see. So the question is, I hear that all these robots are coming and there is all this automation. What can I do to future-proof myself?
Great question. And hey, Roy, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
So I've spent the last couple of years investigating this question. I was worried about my own job, which is not safe. We journalists are.
What's this is agreement or snaps or whichever, depending which community you're from. Those are your nonverbal agreements. I got one of those too.
Yeah, and so I have consulted with many experts, including this guy named Roy, who was very helpful in my my research process. But I talked to a bunch of AI experts, and the question I asked them was basically, what are machines not going to be doing very soon? Like, what are humans better at than AI? And they told me it basically broke down into three buckets. There was surprising, social, and scarce. So surprising work is work that involves lots of irregularities, chaos, changing environments, unfixed rules. So sort of the reason that AI would be good at playing chess, but not, teaching a pre-K class. Like, that's just not the kind of thing that AI is very good at. There's a thing called zero-shot learning that's very hard for AI to do. So those jobs are fairly protected, the jobs that involve lots of chaos, lots of surprises. The second category is social jobs, and those are jobs that are not about making things or doing things for people. They're about making people feel things and doing things with people. So these are the jobs that are about not selling products or manufacturing them, but creating experiences. So that would be all your, healthcare jobs, teaching jobs, therapists, social workers, but also, things like podcasting, things where the sort of output that you're doing, you're not just making widgets, you are producing experiences for people. And the third category is what I call scarce jobs, which are jobs that are sort of high stakes, low fault tolerance, involve rare skills, or just overall excellence in a field. So this is why, for example, when you call 911, a human picks up. It's not because we don't know how to automate that job. It's because we've sort of collectively decided as a society that humans should be in that role, and that when you're in trouble, you want to talk to a human and not have to wade through an automated phone menu.
And so one of the things that I've gotten from you is that if you're not in a job that's inherently like this, you can take your job and try to make it like this. And you were talking about your friend who's like a comedian accountant. What was that? Can you just tell?
Yeah, my friend Russ Garofalo. He's actually my accountant. I have to call him
and comedian. Yeah. You're a comedian.
I have to call him pretty soon because I'm way behind on taxes this year. But he runs a tax preparation firm, and he is in an industry that is definitely going to be automated. I mean, tax preparation, there was an Oxford study that found that it was literally the most automatable job category, 99% chance of being automated. And a lot of that's already happened because of TurboTax. So I sort of asked him, like, how do you exist? Like, how do you have a business that's growing instead of one that's shrinking? And he said, it's because I'm a former stand-up comedian and I hire a bunch of other entertainers and people with good, personal skills, and I pay for them all to take improv comedy classes because it makes them better at relating to clients. And so, it's fun to do your taxes with Russ. And as a result, like, he's still in business while a lot of other tax preparers have not made it.
Yeah, I love that. And you were talking about how in your own job, this is the thing I was had up earlier about why financial poetry and brass taxes can save you, because you said his accounting firm is called Brass Taxes, and you were saying how in your own job, there's plenty of automatable stories. Bloomberg runs them all the time off of an earnings release that gets turned into something. But if you try something that's more I want to say human, but it feels like such a tautological word to use in this, but more bespoke to something only you could do. And I think about things like deeply researched pieces where it's like you can't investigate Theranos or, or point out that Juicero seems pretty silly in robot's very unlikely to be able to do that. So I love those insights. I think that one of the things that I struggle with knowing how to do is that many of the people who are, I think, most at risk of automation are in roles where they may not be information industry roles. They may be roles that are just harder to, just where they have fewer options, basically. And the reason I love the accounting example is it's a perfect example of the kind of job that isn't, one of these like wear a white lab coat, learn to code. Obviously, they have technical skills. They know how to file your taxes, but where your friend was managing to find a way to take something that you would have thought would be unrelated because taxes aren't funny.
Right.
At work. So I appreciate that. It also makes me think of, we're joking about Nifty's NFTs earlier. It also makes me think of the fact that what is being purchased right now that is unique, it could have been algorithmically generated. In some ways it was semi-algorithmically generated, but it's the scarcity of the human being's involvement with it that makes it take off. Are there errors that you see people making that you're like, oh, I know you think you're helping yourself, but that's not really working? Like, would you not learn to code or something like that?
I don't think learning to code is an inherently bad thing, but I think it's been marketed as this kind of armor. Like if you just know how to code, you're not going to have to worry about having a job ever. And really, I mean, a lot of the coding jobs are being automated as well now that you have no code and low code platforms coming out. So the coders who are successful are not necessarily going to be the ones who are the most technically skilled. It's not going to be sort of geniuses writing code by themselves locked in a room, because robots will be doing that too. So it'll be much more like you're a coder and a good leader and a persuasive communicator and an insightful product designer. It's not just going to be enough to be good at writing Python.
Yeah, we're going to have a whole week in a few weeks about learning to code with somebody who I think will largely agree with you. I mean, one thing I'll say about software engineers is they're often the most oriented toward automating things because they hate doing repetitive work. I mean, there's this phrase in software engineering of DRY, don't repeat yourself. And so some of them may have, as you point out, leadership skills or something else, or programming might be a thing that, like writing, you are a professional writer, but I write over the course of my day. Yeah, I write emails and, memos and such. And so it's been a useful skill, even though I'm not a writer. And the other thing is that maybe some of them will be involved in doing the automating. I mean, a good way to protect yourself is to be part of the system that otherwise, if you can be. All right, well, that's super helpful. And thank you, Kevin. And I'm looking forward to when we can have one of our longer conversations and figure out where this all goes. But I feel like this, you're kind of, there's a textbook or manual part of this that needs to get embedded into just general career wisdom, because people used to pick careers in a static way. And now the chance that you'll be doing the same job in the same way seems to be, over the course of a career seems to be a lot lower. So thank you for opening or continuing that conversation.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to talk.